Welcome to the Snarketing Podcast, coming to you live from South by Southwest 2026 in Austin, Texas. We're recording outdoors at Lambert's, right in the middle of the chaos, where brand, tech, culture, and a lot of opinions are all colliding. And for what we all hope is the last time, host Matt Worst goes at it solo and attempts to keep up and stand out. Wait, is that a pink jacket?
Welcome to our second episode of the Snarketing Podcast, minus Valerie. We'll see you soon, Val. Here in Austin for South by Southwest. The temperature has been crazy. It was 90 one day, it was 30 one day. Things are changing, and that's a great theme, because as we creative, technology, innovative marketers come together to talk and, we shoot the shit, there's a lot that's changing. There's a lot that we look to each other for both therapeutic comfort and respite, as well as inspiration. And the person we're going to talk to today, Dustin Callif, who is from California, and it's just easy to remember it that way. He runs a big production agency called Tool. And Tool has been at the forefront of a lot of the great creative work that we've seen, but they also take a really innovative approach and have been using AI for 10 years. That's right. You didn't even know what AI was 10 years ago, and they've been working with it. So we're going to find out how they're doing that, what they're doing now, what they're doing next, as well as just what Dustin's been doing, seeing, feeling, thinking, and even eating here in Austin. So let's welcome Dustin Callif from Tool.
This week at South by Southwest, everyone's talking about AI, experience, and what actually breaks through in a world of infinite content. So we figured, let's talk to someone who's actually building it. Joining us is Dustin Callif, president of Tool North America, a company at the forefront of immersive brand experiences that blend creativity with emerging technology. Let's get into it.
Dustin, welcome to the Snarketing Podcast here in Austin. What is it, 2026? This is not your first South by, is it?
This is my 16th South by.
I heard it was double digits. You have your Sweet 16.
Yep.
What is the vibe like? Just can you give me the temperature check, not actual temperature, because I know it's
Real
fluctuating.
Temperature, I got to tell you, we just went from 90 degrees yesterday to like 50 degrees today, and it feels like 30 degrees.
It's kind of fitting, because marketing can be hot and cold.
Yep.
Our customers and clients can be hot and cold, so it's pretty fitting. So now that you've kind of gotten through the first few days, we're nearing the end of our South by experience. Are there any key themes, any topics? Is there a panel that you saw, or maybe one that you moderated that stood out, or something that you're going to take back with you to warm, breezy, sunny California?
Well, this being 2026, obviously at South by, everyone's talking about AI. But I will say, I've been to so many South bys. This has been the same topic for years.
Correct.
And I think the takeaway is we're moving through this phase of novelty. That's where we've been for the past few years with AI. And I think we're now getting into the point where people are wanting it to be practical. And it, for the most part, is getting to be practical, but I would still say most companies still really don't know how to use AI, have not evaluated their AI strategy.
Practical, and what about measurable? Do those two things go hand in hand, or not yet?
I don't think yet, because for the most part, everyone is in their pilot phase with AI, trying to figure out how am I going to use it internally for efficiencies, but also how am I going to use it, because I'm in the creative industry, how am I going to use it for creative purposes?
Right.
And how am I going to scale my content? And most brands that we work with, we're working with everyone from Amazon to Procter & Gamble to AWS to Miro. And all of them are trying this for the first time, at least from a creative standpoint, and are evaluating, one, does this allow them to tell the kind of stories they want to tell? Two, do they even understand how to scale this content for their media buys? And three, is it actually providing the kind of efficiencies they had hoped?
So I want to dig into like the AI aspect of the creative experience, because there's generative creative that can, in some ways, take some of the manual, heavy lifting, pixel moving things around of the creative process. But the more I engage with it, it helps from an actual behind the scenes, strategic, get the data faster, get the briefs tighter, get the audience segmentation sharper. Are you using it in some of those ways, all those ways? You're not replacing people with it from a creative process. So,
our internal team is using it almost across every touch point. We are using it from helping us research faster on a brief that comes in.
Okay.
Let's learn more about the brand that we're working with. Let's learn more about the opportunity. Let's do social media listening. Our finance department is using it. We're working with a company called Roll Credits, where literally, when I turn in my expense reports, I snap a photo, and it's automatically scanning it and then setting it up in our expense report system.
So are we then a year away, when we're back here next year, having conversations that are no longer led by AI, they're just kind of powered by? Do we need to keep talking about it? Because the things that we're doing will just be, it'll be in trend. Like, I don't want to hear it.
I don't know. I still think in a year we're going to be talking about leading with the word AI. I do agree with you, though, that at some point in the near future, we're going to stop talking the same way we don't talk about, this is a CGI project.
Right.
It's just there. You don't talk about it. And this is what actually I get frustrated with in the creative community, because so many people talk about AI slop. And I try to remind people, I say, we've been doing slop.
There's been slop before.
Since the advent of advertising.
Bad creative, who makes it how it's made is different.
And I don't care if it doesn't start with an amazing concept. It could be, it doesn't matter how you execute it, it's going to still be bad.
Okay. I've heard AI referenced as a tool.
Yep.
And it's a tool that can be many things. You are a tool.
Yes.
So as we pivot into what you are, what you do, what you make, tell us what is tool.
Yep.
Not a tool, but the tool.
The tool.
The tool.
Yes.
What is tool? What are you guys? What's your operating model? How do you think about where you fit in this ecosystem?
Tool is a creative studio that focuses on supporting brands and advertising agencies in the creation of branded content in experiential, as well as we have one of the forefront AI studios in the world of commercial advertising. So everything we do is in support of creative production, and support of innovating with our clients. And this is actually our 31st year in existence.
Wow.
So you can imagine, over 31 years, all the little changes that we made. Now, we're a nimble company, so we're a company of 45 full-time people. Now, we work with some of the world's biggest brands, and we're able to shift and move. So that's when I think one of the things that's a big advantage to us is that we're able to change. So in 95, when we started, it was a live-action production company. In 2009, when I came on board, we shifted into more of a studio, and that meant we were sitting in as a hybrid between agency and production. And then we've innovated with different technologies, and we've pivoted over the years to now be who we are now.
Okay, so you've been there 17 years, is that right? So as these changes have both led what and how you operate, and in some cases you lead how those changes actually happen, has there been a through line that keeps either the narrative consistent or the way you tell stories consistent that hasn't changed?
I think the through line has been being at the intersection of innovation and storytelling.
Okay.
And that has been the through line. Listen, you could say that in some cases we're chasing hype cycles, such as VR, Web3.
Yep.
And there were certain times when I would say, going back to what you were asking about, do I see AI as a tool? I don't talk about it with all of our brands as a tool. I talk about it that this is a monumental shift in content transformation.
That's a lot more letters than words.
Yeah.
Tool is only 4 letters,
Yes.
but I get the clarifying nature of it.
And the reason I say that is because it is, yes, you can use it as a tool, but it is monumentally shifting how we make stuff. And the reason I say that is it's not just from a creative standpoint, it's also from a business standpoint. I have not had the opportunity to provide the kind of business value from a creative production standpoint that I can now. I was not able to do that years ago.
I mean, I hear you explaining it, it almost doesn't even feel like a tool. It's the wrong word.
Yeah.
So I've been using it wrong or saying it wrong because it's a number of different types of technologies that create and ultimately power different tools. Right? Electricity is not a tool in the same way that AI is not a tool. Electricity powers drills and other tools, but this is kind of a different mindset. It's a utility, is what it really is. So that's interesting how you're talking about it with your clients. And you have some big name. You mentioned a few. You don't need to name names or rank them in terms of like who's great or terrible to work with. But what makes a great client for a creative shop?
Right. Well, listen, I had the good fortune of just working with Paramount and CBS on a really large-scale experiential activation that went across the country for Survivor's 50th season.
Yes.
And what made that project so great was the trust that our client had with us. And I think that's the first and foremost thing, is one, that they trust that we can do what we do. And we need to trust that when they have some feedback for us, they're giving it to us for a certain reason. But where it doesn't work in these creative is when you have too many stakeholders all providing feedback and everybody questioning each other all the time. And when that happens, that's when normally a project goes sideways and it ends up not being at the level that it needs to be.
Oh, I mean, you're speaking my language as someone who is ex-agency, ran agencies. Sometimes you're the middleman as the external player. Do you have a secret method, or is there something that you can say, do, or enact that will bring these disparate internal stakeholders together in a way that aligns to make your life easier, or are you just hoping that you find one good partner to do that for you?
Listen, it's all about, you do need teamwork, and no matter if I come in and even if I set things up at the kickoff meeting and say, this is our North Star for the project, here's how we need to communicate. If I don't have a partner on the client side who's going to champion that through, it doesn't matter what I say, because they're not going to listen to me. But what I will say, what we do try to do is remind everyone throughout what the North Star of the idea is that we're trying to execute. Because if you keep everybody focused on that, you can avoid all the little sideway conversations and going down the rabbit holes of things. And I think the other thing that we try to do, and this is going to sound lame for saying, but it's all about communication. Yeah. And as long as we're up front with our clients saying, here's 2 steps down the road of what you need to be thinking about, here's the kinds of things we need you to be wanting to approve or think about feedback, it helps them align people on their side.
Have you ever had to fire a client that wasn't a good partner? Again, don't have to name names unless you want to.
Yeah.
Or has it ever gotten to a point where you thought that it would just be better to do that because they're not reciprocating in that way?
I'll share a story. So in addition to all of the internal staff we have, we represent directors. And so we represent live action directors who come from the world of comedy, SNL, the feature world, the TV world, the advertising world. So one of our directors is a world-renowned motion designer. And he was working on a project and just kept, in post-production, the client just kept coming back with note after note after note. And he finally came to us and I said, he's like, they're not listening to me. And we said, you know what? You have 2 choices. Either you just keep making the choices that they want and listen, or you can do this. You can drop the mic and you can step out of it because they don't really need you in the post process. And he said, thank you. I can drop the mic and now I'll be happy and they'll be happy and I can just step out of it. So sometimes you got to drop the mic.
Right, I mean, there's addition by subtraction or whatever cliche you want to use. I've found that when you have direct conversations with people that don't necessarily put them on the spot, but can be constructively critical. I think most clients want to be good clients, but don't always know how to be.
Yep.
I've heard that people have given their clients playbooks on how to be a good client, but it does require, you said like being nimble. I think that's always going to be the case. But what may not be, as technology and platforms and different tools emerge, is ultimately what we produce and how we produce it. It's very tactical, not necessarily strategic. So what does this production landscape and ecosystem look like in 3 years? That may be too far away. Yeah. That's like a lifetime.
What I can tell you is that obviously, going back to AI is going to be a part of probably every aspect of content production moving forward. And we're already finding it right now. Most of the projects that come in, AI is just even being used for visual effects and things like that. It might be in one shot, but it's still almost a part of every job now that we have come in. It's some aspect of it. Some of it's 100% of the spot, some of it's 10% of the spot.
Well, and you've been building AI into the production process, sounds like, for the better part of a decade.
And I'm talking about for actual production, not just like pre-visualization.
Okay.
That I'm actually saying in production, I'm going to be shocked if in 3 years from now, AI is not an active part of almost any aspect. And I'm not saying all aspects.
No, I get
it. Might be part of a visual effects shot, editorial process, actually generating scenes that you're integrating into the edit. It might be 100% AI spot.
What were you talking about? Like, what was AI 10 years ago, though, as you were building that into the production?
Well, it's a good question.
Because no one may be better qualified in this space to talk about where we're going based on where we've been.
And just to be clear, I don't know anything, so who knows where we're going to be. But what I will say is that...
That's why we're here, is to learn, share, and take credit for things.
Is that, we love taking credit for things. Yes, back in 2016 when we were doing this, it was what I call the world of predictive AI. And predictive AI was using AI to analyze patterns and make predictions. And so what we were using was natural language processing and computer vision. So for example, we did a project with Toyota back in 2017 where we were actually generating ads for Facebook. And all of the lines of copy that were being generated were being made from this AI system, content system that we generated. And we trained it on some lines of copy that the copywriters had written. Why we did that is it allowed us to create thousands of headlines that were personalized to people's hobbies. If you were a doctor, or if you were an outdoors person. And what that enabled us to do, what was really cool, is that at the time, that was the best response rate that Toyota ever had on Facebook, based on the ads that we were creating personalized to people's hobbies. Now, the thing is that back then, we had to custom build that with Watson API from IBM and others. That took us 4 months to build.
So speed was definitely not where we're at now.
It wasn't even that accurate. We were doing it mostly for a PR headline.
Okay.
Now, that is exactly what you can do with all the LLMs and things, and I can do that easy, with where tech is.
Okay, so speed obviously has improved. The access to it, I think, and the understanding of it has probably gotten better. The downsides of that is anyone and everyone who thinks they may be creative or has maybe some degree of creativity but not the right, maybe sharpened skill set can contribute to the noisy either echo chamber of people talking about it or exo chamber of places where this is being distributed.
Right.
How do you rise above that? You talked about like slop. How do we get the good stuff to the people who need to see it?
Well, I'm fortunate enough that I'm already working with some of the biggest creatives, biggest brands, and...
So just a trust factor alone brings it to the top, right?
Yeah, well, and our team, we have an amazing team. And listen, I will say this, we represent live action directors. A lot of times, those same directors are actually working with us on some of this AI work, and now they're not necessarily making it, they're working with our team, but what they bring to the table is how to frame a shot, how to keep pacing through a spot so that it has the right storytelling. Those things are still true, even in a spot that's either a hybrid, meaning marrying live action and AI, or even 100% AI.
It's such an interesting tension because you've got the human director component and the AI experience, and like keeping them from eating each other is a very interesting tension point. Does your team embrace the uncertainty of where we're going in some ways? Like, right, we don't know what the next application is going to be. We don't know what the next platform is going to be. How do you keep them both curious and excited and not afraid, just as a leader?
Yeah.
Because there's risk culturally, there's risk politically, there's risk process-wise, right? How do you manage that uncertainty as a leader in this uncertain time?
Our team is fully bought in on the opportunities with AI and content creation, and even integrating into experiential. I would say what keeps our team hungry is that this stuff is changing every single week, and there's new things that are coming out. We have partnerships with Google, and we have partnerships with Kling and Runway, and all the top platforms, and we're constantly trying new things, and it's fun for us because there's new things and it's evolving. Like as an example, a year ago, I would have never pitched any of my clients on generating a synthetic actor into a spot. Well, back in the end of October, we worked with Miro boards, and that's a virtual whiteboard that a lot of creators use. And they had a great brand campaign that they wanted to do, but they did not have the budget to create it at the scale they wanted. And we ended up pitching them on doing it all in AI. And I showed them a test where we took a line of their script of dialogue, created an AI person, and gave them the read. And we gave them a bunch of nuanced reads and performances. They looked at it, and this is a creative director who has worked at some of the biggest brands, and he said, oh my gosh, this is way better than I expected. Now, is it as good as a human performance? Of course not. But was it good enough to deliver their idea? Yes. And so we ended up making it, and now it's running. And the thing I would share to people is that allowed Miro to run with a campaign that was going to be shelved. And instead, we were able to bring it to life and make it happen.
If that becomes more widely known, good thing we don't have millions of listeners, but is there a risk that this process, through either better prompting or just better access to tools, is there a risk for agencies or production companies or the human creative element in this to be disintermediated from the process because a brand can just figure out how to prompt the things themselves to create the things themselves?
I will say that.
And then look, there's always been, agencies are at risk. There's always been that.
For the near future, I don't see that happening. And I'll tell you why. Because on all the projects we worked on, even that Miro project, there was still a team of 8 to 10 humans working on the craft of making that. And just the same way that you have a camera, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're going to start shooting a camera on your phone. That doesn't mean you're going to start shooting commercials for Samsung.
Correct.
It means...
But I'm available if needed.
It means that you need the craftspeople. Now, I think what's going to happen is you're going to find small but mighty teams now who are going to become even mightier to be able to make this stuff. You don't need 40 people working on a production. Now you might only need a team of 8 people working on this stuff.
So what are the skills that an up-and-coming creative should be studying either in their academic pursuits or even just on the side when they go home, reading, learning, experimenting with?
I think there's never been a better time to be a generalist in the sense of understanding, if you can, 3D, being a strong conceptual person from a storytelling narrative standpoint, strategic, but also a good designer. All of those things, if you can blend all that together, you can now go in with these AI programs and you can be really, really powerful and dangerous.
So there's a lot of conversation that happens at events like this. We go to a bunch of them every year. They evolve. It's not like you go from one to the other and the narrative is totally different. Sometimes the stories change. Are there, whether they're on panels or just here at restaurants and bars or on the streets, are there things that are not being talked about that probably should be, that you wish was being just more open or exposed?
Well, I think that the thing that I always think about with South by is all of the brand activations that happen around. And I feel like it's been a little bit of a downswing here in the sense that there's not as many experiential activations as when I remember back, 10 years ago.
Every street corner had something.
And now, then the question becomes why? Because I will say, in general, experiential is actually as powerful as it's ever been. There are brands, everyone's wanting to do more experiential, and the question becomes
it touches
why?
all 5 senses, right? You see something on your screen that may be 2 senses.
Right. But so then going back to why are there less opportunities here? And I think that what's happening is that with experiential, it's at a crossroads where I think a lot of brands used to do really big activations at South by, spent millions of dollars, but then there was no success metric.
You couldn't prove that it was worth the cost.
It was, did we get it? How many PR impressions did we get? Now, PR impressions are a
important.
very important thing.
Yes.
But I think what you're finding is a lot of brands now are saying we need better metrics. And the good news is with AI and computer vision and some of the things, now we can start getting a different type of metric for people going through it. To me, the biggest thing that's happening in experiential is that brands are wanting retail out of it, meaning doing an activation, realizing that you might be able to sell merchandise there, or even charging tickets. And that's what Netflix is starting to do with Netflix House. And I'm starting to hear from a number of our clients going, we don't have the big budgets anymore to just power a big multi-million-dollar experiential activation. But because we have our community and fans there, we can actually use that opportunity to actually turn it into a sales moment. And that then becomes something interesting. If you're giving something,
It's impactful but more efficient with the dollar spent per outcome.
And that,
Okay, so second to last question. How many pounds of meat do you think you've eaten in the last 4 days?
I can say that I'll give a shout out to Terry Blacks. I had a great meal over there the other day. I might have had some meat sweats at the end.
It's, that's all part of the experience, right? You need to feel it, you need to live it. And then where can people find you and Tool?
So Tool's based in Santa Monica.
Okay, very nice.
We have an office.
Always lovely there every time of year.
Yes, it's. I like to tell people, we that's what we pay for with our taxes. We better have that nice weather. So anyway, I'm in Los Angeles. I travel around though to New York and San Francisco and Chicago a lot, and around at DustinTheToolofNA.com.
All right, well, we will find you there, and we'll probably find you here again next year.
There's a good chance.
All right, Dustin, thanks for joining us on the podcast and for helping keep South by both strange, weird, and interesting.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I was snarky enough, but...
we can always edit it in post and just add some jokes in with AI, probably.
Cool. Hopefully you'll place me. Thank you.
That's a wrap from South by Southwest 2026. Big thanks to Dustin Callif, President of Tool North America, for joining us and keeping it real. And to everyone here in Austin, proving once again that the future of marketing is being built at the intersection of creativity, technology, and culture. This is the Snarketing Podcast. See you next time.